Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Cyclone Hockey Show presented by Pizza Pit. I'm your host, Mary Rominger. We're going to start the show out with a quick recap of this past weekend as Iowa State hosted Missouri State. And then after the break, we're going to have an exclusive interview with Division II senior captain Logan Adkins. And then we're going to close out the show with our signature segment, Around the League, with special guests assistant coach Scott Ismond and Cyclone hockey reporter Spencer Suckow. So to start it off, number 9, Iowa State improved their record to 17, 14, and 3 as they hosted number 12 Missouri State. Friday night snapped a 4-game losing streak as the team was able to come out with the victory. Aaron Azevedo broke the tie in the third period very early, making it 3-2, and then Uglum was able to solidify the victory with a late goal to close out the game, and the team came out with a final score of 4-2. Then on Saturday, the team had a different kind of look as mistakes became a factor. The team lost in a 5-3 final score. Some key mistakes will need to be addressed, as Coach Jason Fairman stated in the post-game press conference, because the team will host a very tough opponent and CSCHL opponent, number 4 Ohio, in this upcoming weekend. But we'll get into that more later on the show in our Around the League segment. All right, so that's it for this past weekend. Iowa State again split the series with Missouri State. We are going to take it to a quick break, and we will be back with the exclusive interview with senior captain of the Division II hockey team, Logan Adkins. And we are back to the Cyclone Hockey Show presented by Pizza Pit. Joining me on the desk now is senior captain Ford, Logan Adkins. How are you doing, Logan?
I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well, and there's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about with you, as the Division II team is 22-5-0-1 this season. A lot of exciting things, especially considering the team just made the big move up from Division III to Division II. So initially, just kind of talk about that. What has the jump been like? I know that's a loaded question, but what was expected heading into the season, and what kind of are you noticing?
Yeah, so I mean, last year we made it to the national tournament and went pretty far. We were honestly 5 minutes from making a deep run. But this year, we're playing, national championship contending teams every game, it seems like. So, we had a great season last year, but at the same time, we have to bring that intensity to every game.
And going off of what you said, last season you guys had a remarkable outcome, went to the playoffs, and also went to the national tournament. Talk about what that was like, especially knowing that you were about to enter your last season.
Yeah, so last year we had an awesome team. We could seem like score at will almost. This year we've had to work a little bit harder for that, but I think getting into this last little push here, I think that's really going to help us out. Making the plays when we need to. But yeah, I mean it's been fun. It's been a grind, but I think we've put ourselves in a pretty good position here.
And going back to the move from Division III to Division II, are you able to pinpoint any key differences and just kind of the competition? Like you said, you're playing more national championship contending teams. What has that been like just for practicing and getting ready for those types of opponents?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest differences from D3 to D2 is a lot of teams, they're going to make adjustments in game, whereas, D3, you might go in with a game plan and it might not change throughout the game. But you get to these D2 games, maybe they're running a different power play, a different penalty kill. We have to adjust to that, and I think that's how, we've been successful this year.
And going back to that 22-5-0-1 record, it's really hard, to pinpoint this, especially when you guys are amidst a lot of action. We'll get into that later on in the interview. But what can you say, maybe you think as captain, are some of the biggest keys to success that you guys have had, not only this season but also last season?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the big things, Coach Ismond preaches it, Coach Fairman preaches it, it's the details. It's not always the stuff that's on the ice, but, it's being on time to practices, being on time to dry land. Whether it's anything from, wearing the right team apparel, it's just the little stuff. And at the end of the day, That's kind of stuff that's going to separate us from, the higher tier teams and kind of the bottom feeders. And, that's just what we follow and the coaches preach it. So.
And that's well known as the Cyclone hockey organization as a whole has always had a very intense and very professional structure to how the organization runs itself for not only Division I, but now we learn Division II. Now moving on to this past weekend, you guys had a big weekend. The playoff result, you guys were in the playoffs, and after making your way to the championship game, you guys did fall in the MACHA gold medal division game. Kind of talk about what that was like and just kind of the road to get to that big game.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first game we had St. Louis, a little bit of history behind that. We had played them last year when we were making the jump up to D2, kind of the transition phase. We ended up losing both games by a goal. I think the second game was actually in overtime. There's some questionable calls in those games too, but anyway, we also got swept again this year. So we're going into the playoffs. We knew we were playing SLU, and we had a chip on our shoulder, 0-4 in the last 4 meetings. So, I mean, we went in with the mentality and the attitude that, okay, this is our game to take. We felt we'd gotten cheated in both those season setups there, but yeah, we definitely wanted to take that first game, and we ended up doing it. We were able to put the puck in the net, but the second game, McKendree, we had just played on the last weekend. I mentioned, making those in-game adjustments. I think we ended up beating them in the first game of the season series we played last weekend. But we weren't able to do it in the championship. I just think they made a few more adjustments than we did, and we just weren't able to put the puck in the net. And I just think it's one of those games you have that the puck just doesn't bounce your way and you can't do anything about it. So.
Absolutely, and that the final score of that game ended up being 4-0. But like you said, when the offense just isn't clicking, it's really hard to come out of it. But it's really easy just to put that behind you guys and look ahead as regionals are in sight. What can you say about the focus at practices? You guys don't know who or what competition you guys will be playing, but what's kind of the mentality in practices this week?
Yeah, absolutely. We, I think we're all focusing up, getting ready to run on all cylinders because we know, every team at regionals is going to be a top-tier team, a top-tier in each conference. We're looking at, McKendree, one of the top teams in our conference, and, we could be facing them again. So we don't really know. So we need to bring 100% to every practice and really focus up here on this last push.
And in regards to not being able to prepare or necessarily do a scouting report on the competition that you do have, how do you guys prepare and what do you guys kind of talk about at practice? Or is it just more of a focus on your individual details, or do you guys try and look at what the options are, the possibilities for the opposition you'll face?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think Coach has done a really nice job of setting up different, penalty kill schemes, power play schemes, forechecking schemes, so that he can say, we're going to run 2-3, we're going to want to run a 1-2-2 on a forecheck. So we can make those in-game adjustments as need be. So I think that's really going to be able to put us on a competitive level with, anyone we face off against.
Well, there is very exciting things to come for the Division II team. And now moving away from the season, it's hard to do that when you guys are at such a high level of competition right now and so much optimism for what's to come to close out the season. But talk about this being your final season. You are the senior captain of the Division II team, like I had mentioned. What does that mean for you heading into this postseason? It's really your final answer to what you can really accomplish here at Iowa State.
Yeah, it's scary to think how fast it's gone by, but I've had countless memories that I wouldn't trade for anything. But Coach says you're only guaranteed one more game, so you better battle like it's your last game. We could play up to 7 more games if we want to, if it's if we play our cards right. So I think I'll look back and say I had a blast and. That I was glad I did it, but like I said, we have a chance to really do something here, and I think we all fully believe in that.
And I know the tunnel vision right now is all on what's potentially to come. But is there anything in your past couple seasons that you can pinpoint have been most memorable, or some memories that you will always carry to heart when you graduate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, a specific example, last year we went, we were preparing for the national tournament. We went up to North Iowa. They're a junior team, a junior NA3 team. Nobody had really expected us to be competitive, but we actually went in there and beat them, and it was, packed house, packed barn. Nothing better than shutting the crowd up. So
absolutely,
it's one of my favorite things to do. So, but yeah, I think we can do it again this year, like I said. So.
And then just to kind of get to know a little bit more about you, what can you say about the type of leader you are, or at least what type of leader you aspire to be on the ice? What's kind of your role in the locker room? Are you a little bit more outspoken, or do you kind of lead by example?
Sure, yeah. I would definitely say that I'm more of a lead by example kind of guy. At times, I might be emotional and can't put the right words together, but I think guys can see through my drive on the ice, whether it's, taking a hit to make the play, doing the little details like Coach said. But at the end of the day, I think guys can get behind, somebody who can do the little stuff and set an example for everyone. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Logan. I wish you the best of luck in what's to come for you and the Division II team. That is it for this interview. We are going to bring it to some exciting highlights from this past weekend in the 1-to-1 split with Missouri State, and then we'll be back with the Around the League segment with two special guests. And we are back to the final segment of the Cyclone Hockey Show presented by Pizza Pit. Joining me now on the desk is the two Cyclone hockey and, matter of fact, ACHA experts, assistant coach Scott Ismond and Spencer Suckow. We are going to start off with our Around the League segment, and that'll consist of what games happened this past weekend. We'll start it off with the team that we talked about earlier, and the Cyclone hockey team. Number 9 Iowa State split the series with number 12 Missouri State.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it seemed like Iowa State played a little bit worse in this series than they had in the past couple series, but they were able to come away with a win, unlike the last two series. Saturday, it kind of seemed like a return to old habits, just more or less making uncharacteristic type mistakes that you're not used to seeing from Cyclone hockey the past couple of years, but have been pretty consistent throughout this season. I know that there were two back-breaking goals right immediately after Anthony Song himself scored a goal on two separate occasions, and that really just ended up killing the entire momentum of the game for the team.
Yeah, back and forth action, bad bounces the whole way kind of for the Cyclones, and that's kind of the things, the adversity that you want to see at this point in the season rather than that national tournament or playoffs. But still, we're at the point where the Cyclones need something to build off of at this point in time. It was great that they were able to keep fighting, build some momentum after that Friday game, start developing some good habits. Saturday, there's just a couple of key plays that turned against them, and at a certain point, you can't come back. And credit Missouri State, they're in a position right now where they're battling for their national championship lives, and I think they may have solidified a spot to go to the tournament with that win. Being Tuesday right now, I know this airs later in the week, but filming on a Tuesday, rankings coming out tomorrow, I'll expect that they probably move up a few spots, and I'm betting that they'll be in Columbus now.
They've had a very good past couple of weeks. They've won, I believe, 5 of their last 6, so pretty hot team coming into tournament time.
And now moving forward to a team that Iowa State faces this upcoming weekend, number 4 Ohio split the series with number 6 Illinois.
Yeah, they lost in overtime. Ohio did on Saturday night, on senior night, and from what I heard, it was a very emotional type loss. Illinois, I believe, won with 27 seconds left, got a breakaway goal. It's a very tough way for their seniors to go out, so they're going to be coming into Ames probably maybe a little bit angry, so that'll be something to watch out for.
Well, and also remember this time last year, Ames came into Ohio and upset them with a sweep in Ohio for the first time in a long time. So you got to think that's in the back of their minds, as they have a chance. If they get 4 points here this week, and now remember, each game is worth 3 points. A regulation win is worth 3. If you have an overtime win, it's worth 2. So there's always 3 points on the line. If Ohio can get 4 points this weekend, they take the CSCHL regular championship. And that means they have the number 1 seed as they host the CSCHL playoffs. So a lot that they're fighting for here as well. But number 4, number 6, CSCHL, all the teams top 10, have been top 10. I'll get to that a little bit here, but it's always tough competition, and both of those CSCHL matchups this week ending up in splits, and that's a great example right there as far as the talent that's within this league.
Mm-hmm. And then a team that Iowa State faced this past weekend, and another top 10 matchup, number 3 Lindenwood and number 7 RMU faced off.
I think you got to keep an eye out here on Robert Morris. They are starting to roll. Lindenwood's always been in top form, but I think Robert Morris is going to be a team to watch for definitely down the stretch here. And it's funny how close these teams are. You've got, like I said, Ohio coming in looking for a chance to solidify. You've got Illinois, Robert Morris, Iowa State all fighting for 3, 4, 5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Lindenwood, Ohio fighting for 1, 2. So who's ever 4 and 5 in that conference are going to have a play-in game, which you don't want to try and play 3 games over the course of the weekend come playoff time. You just want to have those 2. Same for the national tournament. So, Robert Morris, I think, is a team that if they even have 3 games at playoff time, they're going to be dangerous, but definitely have to keep an eye out for them down the stretch here.
Yeah, Robert Morris is an incredibly high-scoring team. They can put up goals at a very high clip. And then, like you said, the league is just so ridiculously stacked this year that really any team could come in and win it this year. Even with those 3 games, there's really not any team in the CSCHL where you say they can't win this league. And I think that should give Iowa State almost a bit of a boost of confidence heading into the tournament, that even though you haven't had the best season, you've still beaten all these teams. You've beaten Lindenwood, you've beaten Illinois, you've beaten Ohio. So it'll be a very interesting tournament to watch.
Mm-hmm. And now moving forward, the ranked number 14 Stony Brook was swept by NYU.
Well, yeah, the unranked New York University there that won the Division II National Championship last year. I think they've had a great opportunity to recruit. I mean, who wouldn't want to go play hockey right on the piers there in New York and go to New York University? So they've had a great recruiting class there, continuing to build and looking to make themselves a contender here moving down the stretch. I'm assuming that they'll probably maybe come in at about 25, somewhere in those high 20s. I don't think that they'll be a national tournament team this year, but definitely making a case for themselves here, especially with that sweep over what has been historically a very strong team and a tournament team, national championship even talk team for a couple of years in Stony Brook.
Yeah, and then NYU just recently made the transition to Division I,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but they've only lost 1 game since winter break, and so it's very exciting to see what they can do in the near future. Like you said, who wouldn't want to play hockey in New York? So with an excellent recruiting class and an excellent recruiting base, I think you could definitely see NYU make some noise in the near future.
Absolutely. And then number 10 Michigan Dearborn defeats Indiana Tech 4-3.
Michigan Dearborn, you're starting to see, like we've talked about them all year, that they've been making some moves here. Team to keep an eye out for sure. Indiana Tech team that came in and stomped Iowa State, honestly, in their own barn. Been a top team in that NAIA here so far. So that's something of note here, kind of going into the national tournament stretch as far as what Michigan Dearborn might be able to do, making some noise kind of, in that eastern side of it where you've had Stony Brook kind of leading it for years. Michigan Dearborn might be able to take those reins and be in the conversation with a team like Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked a little bit last week about how their schedule maybe was a little bit weaker. Indiana Tech they're a pretty good team. They've got scholarship players, and Dearborn came in and didn't sweep them. Their Friday game got postponed, but still, it's an impressive win nonetheless for Michigan Dearborn to come away with a win against a talented team this close to tournament time. I think it kind of proves that, they can hang with anyone and that they're not just kind of a product of their schedule.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to move over to the games that were not really a surprise based on how good these teams are. Number 5, UCO sweeps number 20, Oklahoma.
Yeah, and these ones are kind of ones that we can really just rifle through here. Yeah, the Oklahoma, we're hoping Oklahoma might be able to make a little bit of noise, be at that number 20 spot, but didn't really happen. You look at some of the other series there too. Liberty, number 12, they're playing Alabama, swept them. Jamestown, Midland, I think that was another sweep there. It might have only been another one of those 1-game series because of the Saturday weather being postponed. And another one that we thought that might make some noise, the CSU with that rivalry, the unranked CSU going up against Colorado, but sure enough, Colorado prevailed with the sweep there as well too. So a lot of things that we were hoping for, but at this point in the season, there's not a lot of series outside of the CSCHL that are really serious to watch. A lot of people are getting some rest in. A lot of people are kind of gearing up for that playoff push. And so that's why there's not a lot of shocks here at this point in time. These teams are getting that national tournament form.
Yeah, and Liberty, I believe, is on a 15-game winning streak right now. They've been playing some fantastic hockey after just going after just moving up from the independent ranks. They've been at Division I since 2006, but they just recently moved into that same conference with Stony Brook and with NYU. So to see them, Alabama hasn't necessarily played a tough schedule, but they're still a ranked team nonetheless. They're still a good program. So Liberty continuing kind of their dominance as of late. That was interesting to see. Jamestown, we talked a little bit last week about how they kind of had a tough schedule in the sense that they played Minot a lot. And to see them win over Midland, certainly not a surprise in my opinion. And then, like we said, Colorado. CSU's really struggled this year. Historically a good team, but they've had their problems this year. Colorado coming in and sweeping them. Even though it is a rivalry, I don't think it's necessarily unexpected.
I think that Jamestown series might actually end up hurting Iowa State in the long run.
Yeah.
They haven't played Jamestown this year, but if Midland could have squeaked out a win there,
Would have really made their resume look better.
But the other side of this is those Midland games don't count towards national rankings. So it's kind of a flip here. This national rankings will end, I think, after playoffs. I could be mistaken on that. This might be the last week that we're looking at as well too. So, but speaking of Liberty at number 12, there they continue to win, but they also continue to celebrate pretty well too. I don't know if you saw that, but they had a Star Wars theme. And had a pretty good goal celebration after the one that they had there.
Yes. And now moving forward to what's to come in this week ahead, we are going to touch on Iowa State facing Ohio.
Like we said, Ohio, they're going to be coming in probably a little mad after that overtime loss to Illinois. Traditionally, they're one of the most talented teams in the ACHA. This year is no different. They're looking to lock up that number 1 spot, but Iowa State at the same time, you talk to a lot of the guys in the locker room, they're a confident team, and they know they've beaten Ohio in the past. They know that they can hang with Ohio, and they're trying not to have that play-in game, like Scott said. So it'll be a very interesting series, and fortunately for Iowa State, they do get it at home this late in the season, and they're going to want to. And this is the last CSCHL regular season game for guys like Cody Ryder, Derek Moser, and Matt Gedeke. They're going to want to send those guys out with a bang.
Yeah, it's going to be, we talked about what's on the line for both Iowa State and Ohio here as far as the rankings go, both nationally and CSCHL. The biggest thing I need to see from Iowa State is that desperate hockey. Your backs are against the wall right now. Now, as I said, rankings are supposed to be coming out tomorrow. Iowa State knows where they're at right now. They're at 13. That's a big drop from where they were at number 9 last week. 13 is the highest ranked team that has to play a playing game also for the national tournament. So now you're playing 5 games instead of 4. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of lines that they're just on the cusp of, that they need to start playing some desperate hockey. They need to feel like their backs are against the wall. And kind of like that mentality that Logan was saying here before. Every game's got to be played like it's the last game at this point in time. So hopefully it'll be an exciting weekend. Big rivalry here between the two.
A sweep against Ohio, and then reel off a couple wins in the CSCHL tournament. You're suddenly sitting pretty good heading into the ACHA national tournament.
And then moving forward, Illinois faces RMU, which is someone that Iowa State is battling in the rankings with.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really an ideal situation on this because they're both chasing for the CSCHL. I expect that this might be a split again, but I don't know if there's really an ideal outcome for Iowa State here in this situation where RMU saying at 7 last week, Illinois at 6. It's going to be. I don't know if there's a win-win situation here for them.
Yeah, in-state rivalry, CSCHL rivalry, this one kind of has split written all over it. And there's really no outcome that helps Iowa State, but it should be an interesting series just to watch as a fan. Just Robert Morris style, Illinois style, very fast-paced teams that like to get up and down the ice and score. So just as a fan, that should be a very interesting series to watch, especially when you add those elements of it being an in-state rivalry and a league rivalry.
And another interstate rivalry, Arizona and ASU face off.
Yeah, the renewal. Well, I think it's been a couple of years now of the renewal, but it's so fun just to follow as a hockey fan. I think they do a home and home for this. Arizona plays out of the Tucson Convention Center, which has been renovated because they now host an AHL team there as well. Iowa State. I had the opportunity to go in there with Iowa State to play against Arizona, and they pack it pretty well. Beer gardens, the works. So it's a fun environment to go play in. Those are two teams that hate each other. I'm expecting Arizona State will come away with this being the ranked team, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And ASU is just on that edge too, as far as trying to make noise and knocking on the door to get into the national tournament.
Yeah, Arizona State, like you said, probably the better team, probably should come away with this. But you never know with a rivalry game that's just this bitter. Arizona State, they hate each other in every single sport. I mean, the fans should probably come out for both of these games on both sides, so it'll be really interesting to watch. Again, like we mentioned with RMU and Illinois, just as a fan, it should be a very fun series to watch, although I do expect Arizona State probably to come away with the sweep.
And then we're going to close it out with both of your guys' series to watch in this week ahead. You could start, Coach.
All right. Well, I think mine is going to be definitely a sleeper pick here, and it's going to be determined as far as what's really played. These are exhibition games. My sleeper pick is Missouri State, who Iowa State just had, and McKendree, who actually Iowa State just had. So you've got the Division II McKendree Bobcats that just won the MACHA playoffs. They actually swept the Division I team already this year in Arkansas. So if they can come in and actually get a win against a national tournament team, not only is that showing how strong the Iowa State Division II program is, Division II as a whole, but kind of what's going on there in McKendree as well. They've got some very strong players that they recruited out, kind of out of the same leagues. But we see Missouri State that's knocking for that national championship tournament appearance. I think both teams, speaking with Gary last weekend off McKendree, I think he's going to be looking to rest some players. But if he puts together a full lineup, it should be a very interesting game being played over there in Missouri State.
And then for you, Spencer?
My series to watch is UNLV versus Midland. UNLV obviously already played Iowa State earlier this season. Midland will be coming up against Iowa State, so it'll be good to see how Midland does against kind of a mutual opponent. And for those that don't know, this game will be played at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas where the Golden Knights play, so the atmosphere should be completely electric. It should be a very fun series to watch. And Iowa State should be able to kind of scout out the opponent that they'll have here in a few weeks in Midland.
Mm-hmm. Anything to add on that one?
I think it's going to be a nice little way to wrap up the season here before we head into the playoff tournament, and especially with the CSCHL games, it's always a dash to the finish, so a lot of excitement ahead.
A lot of excitement ahead for both the Division I and Division II Cyclone hockey teams. That is it for the Cyclone Hockey Show presented by Pizza Pit for this week. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Thanks for tuning in.